grade 12s. We're basically starting analytical geometry. We're going to do it over 4 lessons. And analytical geometry, especially in grade 12, is such a fun section because we start circles. So we're just going to spend a quick time revising grade 11 in topic 1 and topic 2. Now, I think we're probably pretty good at grade 11 analytical geometry. And so instead of making loads of videos, I'm basically going to make this quick video on what is the summary of things we need to know. And then you're going to do an exercise. So let's have a look. Topic 1, I basically made a table here, which is the summary of everything we need to know. Notice that all of these are, well, I'd say all of them. All of these formulas are given to you on your formula sheet. So first of all, the distance formula is given to you. Don't forget that it doesn't matter which one is point number 1 and point number 2. And distance is always positive, so you take the positive square root. Then midpoint, this is the format of the midpoint formula given to you on the formula sheet. I prefer to separate these into 2 different equations when I'm working with them, but the formula gives you them all together. Then gradient, we know, is change in y over change in x. Remember, it doesn't matter which one's point number 1 and point number 2 as long as you're consistent. Don't forget that parallel lines, what's important about them is they have the same gradient. Perpendicular lines, the gradients multiply together to give you -1. Now just a note here, if you're trying to prove that the lines are perpendicular, you need to show that the gradients multiply to give you -1. So I've just written myself a note there. You must just be careful. If you're trying to prove something, you've got to actually prove it. You've got to show something is true. If you're told they're perpendicular, that's a different story. If you're told they're perpendicular, I use the cheat. And the cheat is that you swap them around and change the sign. So if you swap the gradient and you change the sign, that's how you get the gradient of the perpendicular line. Now that makes complete sense because it has to be an opposite sign because you have to multiply together to give a negative, and it must be swapped around so that you can basically cross cancel to 1. So if you're told they're perpendicular, please don't actually go on a whole long mission of showing me what the gradient is. You literally should just write down the perpendicular gradient by just flipping the fraction over and changing the sign. Lastly, at the bottom there's collinear points. Don't forget that collinear points are points on the same line, and therefore they all have the same gradient between them. So that comes up every now and again. Now we're going to practice a little bit of an exercise. It should be fairly quick on these concepts, and then we'll mark that. And ultimately you're going to practice these concepts in the vast amounts of past papers that we're going to do in this section. And so you will practice these quite a lot.